Again, here we are. We're going to be looking at the recording for creating the IEP. And I'm going to go ahead and provide you with the instruction. We're signing in here to create our document. And then you can see that we need to go into our special education caseload tab like we did the last time. And we're going to go in and we're going to create a new document for the Montana IEP. And we're going to do the Montana IEP, not the transition IEP. And you're going to be using the information that is provided in your evaluation report to complete your IEP. Remember to always save and continue, or save before moving on to the next page. Here you're going to be recording some information that you're going to get from the student. And you're going to complete this section either with the student at the meeting or in advance. Then during the meeting, you're going to get the perception of the parents on the student's strengths. And you're going to basically ask them at the meeting or beforehand. You're going to have the staff perceptions completed prior to the meeting or at the meeting by asking the staff. And again, what are the parents' perceptions of the educational needs for the student? And then what are the staff concerns? Next thing you're going to do is determine the special factors. And again, communication needs are not necessary unless you're talking about a deaf or hard of hearing student. If the student has behavioral issues, you need to make sure that you identify it at that point. Here's where you're going to go in and you're going to start writing the PLAF for the areas that you have determined in the evaluation report that need to be served. And make sure that you provide quantitative data. In this particular case, you're going to primarily use the information that was provided in the evaluation report, but in an annual review, you will use information that you collected throughout the school year with your data recording and progress monitoring. Typically, students that are identified as cognitive delay require short-term objectives in their IEP. But in this particular case, I'm just going to have you write measurable annual goals. Sometimes you can just write one measurable annual goal. Sometimes you need more. So that's how you would add an additional goal. You wouldn't need a new PLAF, you would just need another goal. So if you identify a couple of issues in reading, that's where you would add them. So you go again to new PLAF for another service area that was identified in the evaluation report. And again, you do the same thing, provide quantitative data along with qualitative data and identify goals that you need to write. For the purposes of this IEP, I'm only requiring that you write a single goal for each service area, but when you're doing this, you potentially are going to have to write more. You need to determine what your progress reporting frequency is going to be, which is typically when all other students receive their report cards. This is where you put in the service setting, whether it's regular ed or special education, who's providing the service, when it starts, when it ends, and how many minutes per week that you provide. Now keep in mind, support goals are going to typically be less than an entire class period. Instruction that is replaced, alternative curriculum where they're not receiving their instruction in the regular education setting, are oftentimes going to be more like along the lines of a class period, so 60 minutes a day or approximately 300 minutes per week. The minutes that I'm putting in this document are just for purposes to show you how to enter those minutes. Now you need to add in your related service areas. All of the areas that were recommended. Remember, areas or services are not both special education and related services. They're one or the other. In most cases, related services cannot be special education services. However, in the area of speech, they can be. And that is only for students who have a speech language impairment identification. I showed you how to delete a service area if you get it in there incorrectly. In some districts, you're not able to do that. They require your AIM internet manager to do that, but in some cases you can. The total number of minutes per week, it depends on the grade level of the student and how many minutes per week your district provides instruction. These are the questions that are asked in regard to the least restrictive environment. If the student's school day is longer or shorter, you have to provide an explanation. This is where your supplementary aids and services go. These would be your accommodations and modifications for the regular education classroom, and or any special service that you're providing within the special education setting. This is where you'd fill out your statewide assessment data. Like I said, most kids that qualify under cognitive delay would take the alternative assessment, and as a result of that, they would need short-term objectives. However, in this particular case, I'm not requiring that. There is a checklist that goes along with the alternative assessment, but someone will have to show you that at some point in time. District assessments would include your NWEAs, your SRIs, anything that the district uses as a progress monitoring tool. You just completed an evaluation, so an evaluation report is not necessary at this time. This is where you would add your participants for the meeting. If you want to get the signatures to show up, you have to put them in. And you also have to put that they either attended or they were invited. And this is where you would include the notes of the IEP. And that basically concludes the IEP. And then you would go to print. And then you can download it as a PDF to turn it in, submit it in the Dropbox. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.
What?